Welcome to the Obvious Podcast, episode number 43. I'm Sonny Macon, COO at ABC Florida East Coast.
And I'm Peter Daiga, President and CEO of ABC Florida East Coast.
You're listening to the Obvious Podcast, where all opinions expressed are our own, unless we say otherwise.
Do you love the show? Well, we hope you subscribe on any major podcast platform or watch us in action on YouTube. Follow the Obvious Podcast on Instagram, X, and Truth Social. All the links you need are in the show notes. And reach out to us anytime at theobvious@abceastflorida.com. And if you're enjoying the ride, help others find us by leaving a review wherever you listen.
It is a scandal.
Yes.
It is without question, and maybe even worse than Watergate in some ways.
Right.
So the liberals have finally found a scandal that might, in some ways, possibly be worse than Watergate.
That's pretty monumental for a leftist to admit that, right? That there might be something worse than Watergate. What are they talking about?
What are we talking about? We are talking about the guy who set the fire saying, wow, who set the fire?
This fire is a huge conflagration. We've got big problems.
And this fire is worse than Watergate.
Yeah. He maybe lit the match or, fanned the flame with, some of his...
So we are talking about the Biden cognitive decline cover-up. And I hate to use the word cover-up because it was on film. Like, it's pretty obvious to those of us who were paying attention that the man, when he was shaking hands with invisible people, when he's off wandering in the jungles of Brazil, when he wandered off at that summit meeting where the Italian prime minister had to get a hold of him.
So many examples.
Yeah, tons and tons and tons.
It's like... it's unbelievable because we were ridiculed. People who questioned it were ridiculed.
Deep fakes and cheap fakes.
Right.
Cheap fakes. That was the word that they kept using to describe them. Cleverly edited. MSNBC was losing its mind.
Or just flat out denied. Just told to your face what you're seeing.
Behind the scenes, he's doing somersaults.
What are you going to believe? Your known eyes or what I'm telling you?
Your lying eyes.
Your lying eyes or what I'm telling you.
Yeah. So the Biden cover-up scandal, right? It's been portrayed, and I kind of was stunned by the Jake Tapper book on the topic that he wrote.
Yeah.
And
it sounds too good to be true to hear him say this may be bigger than Watergate. And I got to ask, does he really think that, or is he just trying to sell books?
he's trying to sell books.
I mean, there's so many books that have come out, right? It's like, do they not ever feel dirty? I mean, it's just, it's disgusting. By the way, why is the decline such a big issue? Because it impacted in many, many ways, and there's one particular subset among his decline that is a really significant issue, which is the whole auto pen thing.
Yeah.
And in general, what did he know in terms of policy, or was he being manipulated, or was other people's policy that weren't elected really running the country? So
yeah,
that's the real, right? That's the crux of the matter, really, why his decline is an issue.
Because if he's not aware, there's a famous video of Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, asking, and I can't even remember what the issue was, but he brought up an issue to the president, and the president was like, what are you talking about? I never did that. And it was something that, and I wish I could remember what it was, but maybe we'll pull up the video and post the link.
I know what you're talking about. I'm trying to remember what the issue was too, but he was, the speaker was surprised. He happened to have the coincidence or the luck of a personal conversation with him.
Which was rare.
And he asked him about it, and the president basically said, I didn't do that. So it kind of like leads to the concern that's at the crux of this issue, which is, was he really the president?
Right.
Were these his policies and his actions, or was it, it's not acceptable to just assume the people you surround yourself with can run the country. You have to be running the country. You were the one elected by the people.
So I want to play this for you. This is Tapper, and this is not recent. This was 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
Talking with Laura Trump about
the internet was their downfall, man. I swear.
It's all.
They still act like they don't realize. You understand. We'll be able to go back and find tape of you.
It's all public record.
You understand that.
Everything is a public record. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline.
This is the guy selling the book?
This is the guy selling the book. You have no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. And he wrote a whole damn book in which all he does is diagnose his cognitive decline.
Right. Yep.
right? Like so, and then now he's going around. He's done an incredible interview where he got hammered by Megyn Kelly. If you haven't seen that, I highly recommend that episode as well. He is going around pretending that they missed it, right? What we call the sin of omission. But there's evidence on tape that this is not a sin of omission. This is a sin of commission.
Right.
Because he's covering up for it. He accuses her of mocking his stutter, which, by the way, Joe Biden's been around a long time. Nobody knew he had a stutter. I mean,
by the way, both are wrong. Both are bad, right? I mean, in the sense of whether you commit a sin, a literal sin in a religious sense, or
omission and commission.
Yeah. There is a difference.
Of course.
I mean, what is the difference? Is it a matter of degree? Is it a matter of culpability? Is it a matter? I don't know. Why do they feel? Because I think you're right. I think they feel like it somehow lessens their culpability by
saying we missed it, as opposed to we actively covered it up.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. So,
which is a deep misunderstanding of sin and how that works.
Sure.
But the fact that he in the same Megyn Kelly episode that I referenced, he tells Megyn Kelly he called Laura Trump and apologized.
Well, I think I heard her interviewed about that, and she said he didn't really apologize.
That he just basically said, you were right, I was wrong.
Yeah, or he called her to tell her that he was
writing a book
and about this, and so anyway, that's neither here nor there. That speaks more to character, I think. You can't just blatant say I was wrong. So, which of course, so much of the left, in my opinion, well, so much of society in general, but especially in politics today, of the left.
Bob talked about that a long time ago.
You live here?
Yes.
Well, maybe you know what a zombie is.
When a person dies and is buried, it seems there are certain voodoo priests who have the power to bring him back to life.
Horrible.
It's worse than horrible, because a zombie has no will of his own. You see them sometimes walking around blindly with dead eyes, following orders, not knowing what they do, not caring.
You mean like Democrats?
Boy, have times changed.
By the way,
that was in a movie.
That was in a movie in 1940.
1940, yeah.
So things really, in ways are pretty similar. So
I thought he was talking about Biden for a minute, walking around blindly, not knowing what he's saying. But that's just a cheap fake.
Yeah, that's a cheap, and then the whole moral incredulousness that they demonstrated after that famous fundraiser in LA, where they raised him like $32 million. They raised Biden $32 million. And it's on camera, like Biden is just standing on the stage. Obama has to grab his arm, walk him off the stage because he had no idea where he was. And then what's that actor? George Clooney. Oh yeah, no, Obama's great, best ever, right? Yeah. Behind the scenes, he's doing somersaults and catapults, and then he goes, and then after the debate, when all falls apart, and that's the thing, right?
That's really right.
Had he held it together in the debate,
I want to ask you seriously, had he held it together in that debate, they'd still be lying to us today.
They'd be still, yeah, absolutely.
Let's say they were able to continue this lie, and just tell us to our face, what are you going to believe, your lying eyes, or what we tell you, right?
Yeah.
Continue to ridicule the people who question him, and they were able to get away with it, they would today still be, right?
Absolutely.
I think there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, but there's still people that are hanging on to it.
There are.
Congressmen, I never saw anything. Cabinet members, I never saw anything. Janet Yellen, who I think holds the honor.
What a study in human behavior, isn't it? I mean, it really is it is fascinating. I think somebody in college or universities could just really make a study of this, right? How, despite all the evidence, and even people writing books, and even in recent days gone by, the former press secretary,
Karine Jean-Pierre,
she said she was no longer a Democrat, and she's got her own book. She's, right, the inside of a dysfunctional White House or something. Not that I'm hawking or hoping to improve her book sales, but you have people that close even, and yet you have people.
The
denying
guy,
it still. Why? There's something that they can't let go.
They can't be honest, because they can't take any responsibility for their own, for the lies that they spread, right? Again.
Is this just a question of style? Why is this important? I think people sometimes, why is it important that the person who got elected is the one making the decisions? It's a little thing called democracy, right? That the left made a big issue of defending.
Constitution, right? Like the whole idea that the leader that's elected by the people makes the decisions, not the unelected, not bureaucrats, but you know what I mean, appointees that are behind the scenes.
And that's why I think some people are honest enough. Maybe they're just trying to sell books. I don't know, but they said it. His words that this is a bigger scandal than even Watergate. So, and I think they're right. I think they're right.
Every Trump scandal is called a bigger scandal than Watergate.
Yeah.
I'm starting to, and I've seen that movie, All the President's Men, a couple of times. You know, now I'm starting to wonder how big of a scandal Watergate really was, but that's a different topic.
Right. For another podcast.
Yeah, for another podcast. But the idea of the policies that were passed, right? I read this interesting article. Biden's entire political career, he had never, ever voiced support for open borders. He never had. In fact, he voted for the crime bill. He was one of the main architects of the crime bill, which ended up being completely recharacterized, even though it was so effective in lowering crime and bringing cities back and all of that. And now that, you know, crime is destroying cities again, you know, people are like, no, we're not going to go back to those days because the crime bill was racist and all this other stuff. So you're looking at the crime bill, one of the main architects of the crime bill, now being such a proponent for open borders. And people have openly asked, was he even aware of his own policies on the open borders, right?
Yeah, but that, you know, I've been involved in politics most of my life, and there's really nothing new about that. I've seen a transition in the Democrat Party from, you know, a party that they were much more, maybe their views, their core beliefs and views haven't changed much, but they've certainly gotten more public about what they will advocate for. And
well, the socialism has become very open.
Right. I mean, and again, they were always, you know, kind of I mean, it's so funny today with the conversation about the Soviet Russia and Putin and the war with Ukraine. They're a little bit of a paper tiger in the world today compared to China or the threat I think that China poses to us.
What did John McCain call them? The world's largest gas station?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I didn't know that, but that's great.
Yeah.
So, it's not much that I like about John McCain, but I like that quote. So thank you for, I mean, my whole life, the left defended the Soviet Union. Yeah. They loved the Soviet Union.
They loved Gorbachev, and he's the one who really ended the Cold War.
They loved everything about the Soviet Union. And it's just funny how, you know, I don't know what the switch was. You know, I think it's isn't it weird and ironic that somewhere along the line, I think China became more, you know, of a threat to the globe, to the world, to the United States. And so now they somewhat defend China. They're not really opposed to China, but they love this, you know, and now they're like hate the Russia, you know.
So I'm gonna back up your point. The governor of Arizona just vetoed a bill which would have prohibited the CCP from owning farmland in Arizona.
Right.
Land in Arizona. Vetoed it. And it's incredible.
She probably will tell you something like, "What are you going to do? Believe your lying eyes?" Or, you know, right? She's going to something along the lines of course, that's I'm sorry, what was the phrase they used about the fake videos? You know, about
cheap fakes.
You know, cheap fakes. She's going to, again, I hate that the left has gotten very good at it. They're just going to lie to your face. Yeah. You know, they don't need Chinese investment in Arizona for property. Right. They don't need it. And I'm sure there's going to be some line about defending the free markets and people's ability to buy whatever capitalism. Give me a break. You know?
And then they all support each other. The fourth estate supports each other in covering up the bad deeds of anybody who they see as oppressed, right? And it's ironic to me because China is horrible to its own people, but the left will never criticize that.
Right.
China is horrible in world relations, what they're doing to Taiwan, what they're doing to all these, what they've done in Africa, their Belts and Roads initiative. I mean, it's insane, their behavior, but they'll never talk about it. Anyway, I do want to talk about the Biden cover-up and the fact that the public policy that came out of Biden, right? Like I was paying attention I've been paying attention to politics since I was a little kid. I remember the doom and gloom that was predicted post-Bill when Bill Clinton got elected. And his 8 years came and went. I was like, of course, he had the benefit of being president when the internet was born, and that created a lot of wealth and changed society in a profound way. But we came out of that.
He also had opposition in Congress, I think, for a good number of his 8 years.
He did, yeah.
So it was government.
The guy from Georgia,
government was
Newt Gingrich, correct.
So,
but it didn't feel like Like the country had fallen apart under Bush, under Clinton. You know, I had issues with George Bush, and especially the Iraq War and the neocons and all of that. And then it just bothered me because I know, you know, if you understand international relations in any way, that they had nothing to do with 9/11. If you understand the difference between a Shia and a Sunni Muslim, you'll get that. And then Obama comes, and I'll never forget the first time I had to write a check because I was self-employed at the time and I didn't have insurance, because I was doing much better negotiating healthcare on my own than to pay for a policy, to pay for a deductible, and then to and do my co-pays and all of that. Like, it was cheaper for me to just negotiate. So I didn't have insurance. And like, I'll tell you this, I negotiated my first child's birth for $3,500, right? Doctor, hospital, anesthesiologist, all of that. And I had to pay a fine to the U.S. government for not having insurance. And it pissed me off.
Sure.
That's not having something I had to pay for. So I remember
It's a good thing, though, that we did that, because that solved all our problems.
Yeah, healthcare's been taken care of for a long
taken
time.
care of now. So, right? That was the promise. What? We've been lied to again?
Right.
You know, that was
it was the
promise.
first time in my
I
life.
laugh every time, you know, somebody brings up how horrible our system is. But that was solved. Obamacare solved that.
But it was the first time in my life I felt like public policy, besides tax rates, had actually affected my pocketbook, right? And and it really irritated me.
Sure.
But Obama came, Obama went, and I know he really planted the seeds for a lot of the left turn that really got accelerated under Biden.
Yeah.
But when Biden,
A lot of the hatred, a lot of the race baiting, a lot of the...
a lot of it started under that.
A lot of it.
But now under Biden, I feel like the deterioration was
The good news was we had reason to be proud of our country during his presidency.
not according to Michelle Obama.
She was the first time she was proud.
First time she was proud, you're right. But I don't think she's proud anymore.
She's not. I think she said.
Yeah.
Stop being proud.
Gone off of that too.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. That's what makes the show fun.
Yeah,
for me
exactly.
Anyway. I'm sorry, Sonny.
But I think the level of deterioration of this country, just based on public policy, blew my mind. I never expected, you know, the numbers are 10 to 20 million illegal aliens, the amount of executive orders he put out, just blatant, one-sided, horrible for the economy, horrible for industry, horrible for our industry. And the stuff that he's just putting out there again, and like every day, it was like, I felt like America was Keanu Reeves in The Matrix, and his policies were those bullets that he's dodging, and he's like on his back, and bullets are flying at him.
That's
And
great.
it was amazing, like how I felt like that's America, like under attack from the Biden administration, you know. And they were awful. They were absolutely awful. Like I will debate anybody. You can call the show, you can email me, that Janet Yellen was the worst Treasury Secretary we've ever had. The worst. Inflation's transitory, all this. And these were all left-wing academics.
More of those lies, you know. You're going to believe your own lying eyes or what we tell you.
You know, the elites running the country have completely screwed it up, right? And it's just, Newt Gingrich, I heard him say this in an interview, and I think he's a very smart man. And he basically made the point, it was an interesting point, that Trump has this chip on his shoulder because he went from being from Queens, and I'm not from New York, so I don't really understand the full ramifications of what he's saying. But to go from Queens to the Manhattan elite is a hell of a leap. And then that leap for Trump in the New York society has given him a distaste and a distrust of elites, whether they're academic or whether they're governmental or whether they are business. And so when he comes into power, he's constantly being fought against by the elites. And really, if you look at government, you look at the reaction to DOGE, you look at the media, how they react to him, you look at how DOGE reacts to him, the bureaucracy reacts to him, how the academics react to him.
Yes,
It's this constant fight.
Yes.
And
one of the things that's really come out of the election, his two elections, but especially this last one, is, that reconstruction, if you will, of the coalitions.
Yeah.
And really, it's the working class and the less educated, but at least formally educated. It's the elites.
it's the elites
that are really
that are losing their mind.
Yeah.
And again, and I'm going to give Newt Gingrich to him. Newt Gingrich credit for this point. He basically says that this is the first real challenge the Rooseveltian system has had since World War II, right? And so much of what Roosevelt put into place, we all just accept as fact.
Yep.
And this is the first time that world order and their worldview has been challenged. And the elites who have benefited the most from the Rooseveltian system are losing their mind. Yeah. And I think and part of the cover up is part of that whole thing.
So if this is the greatest scandal since Watergate, or bigger than Watergate, what should we be doing about it? What should the government, or do we just lock that up in the back of our memory as it was a big tragedy and a big...
Well, Americans have short memories. It's not they'll forget about it. And I think we'll be back at it again with somebody else in a few years. But I think it should
become an actual strategy. Find somebody who's on the on the edge of mental illness or Alzheimer's, or
it's a Manchurian candidate. Just keep putting up a Manchurian candidate.
That's exactly what it is. Exactly what it is. They got away with it.
Yeah, they got away with it, and the elites ran the country, and that's what they want to do again.
One of the things that always has bothered me is we don't play, when I say we, the right of center, which I consider myself. I think we as an industry, we are more right of center. We are pro-democracy, pro-meritocracy, pro-free markets. We do not play the game the same way the left does.
Yeah.
And one glaring example of that is utilizing the courts and lawfare.
Oh my gosh, they have killed it in that arena.
I mean, a lot of people are asking, for example, recently some loon judge, said that every single one of the deportees, people who came to the country illegally that we are now sending back, has to have some judicial review. Yeah. That 10 or 20 million, that's insane.
When there was no judicial review.
There was right. Where were these judges saying, whoa, Nelly, slow down on that 10 to 20 million coming in without,
Yeah.
Anyway, there was no review there. Somebody, whether it's Congress does some kind of oversight or there's some kind of lawsuit that says that action by the president was illegal because he didn't know about it, he didn't authorize it, he didn't sign it. Somebody's got to sue, somebody's got to do something to at least give them pause the next time they want to put up that Manchurian candidate.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Unfortunately, the media still has power, right? Despite the cracks in the system, there's a lot of power that the media has, and this has affected. I look at Elon Musk's reputation and Tesla's reputation. That's all media driven. I mean, that whole destruction of his reputation, that's completely media driven. So even though there's all these voices and there's all these...
People still love to be on the winning side of things or the popular side of things too, and what's hip and what's happening. And
exactly.
So anyway.
Thank you. Speaking of... We're out of time.
Speaking of hip and happening, we hope you enjoy the show. We thank you for honoring us with your time. And we hope until next time, you'll tune in again and we'll see you.
And if you have comments, shoot us an email, theobvious@abceastflorida.com. We look forward to hearing from you. Take care.